Muy buenos días a todas las personas que están conectadas en este momento. Mi nombre es Camila Flores, yo hago parte del equipo de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales y hoy estaremos realizando un webinar con University of Southern California y hoy nos acompaña Angela McCracken, quien estará realizando la presentación el día de hoy. Antes de comenzar, quería recordarles que con esta universidad tenemos un beneficio por el valor de la matrícula para estudiantes en ciertos másters que seguramente Ángela estará explicando el día de hoy. Ángela, bienvenida y muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Muchísimas gracias, Camila y Joana y todo el equipo de Colfuturo por la invitación. Gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí hoy. Mil perdones para quienes estuvieron el martes y se me pasó el tiempo por el cambio de horario con México. Y muchísimas gracias por recibirme o estar con nosotros hoy para escuchar la presentación. Y al final les doy mi contacto y formas de mantenernos en contacto para por si quieren seguir el camino y explorar sus opciones en la University of Southern California en Los Ángeles. Yo soy la representante en América Latina. Tengo oficina en la Ciudad de México durante 10 años. Entonces conozco la universidad. Yo hice mi doctorado en Relaciones Internacionales en USC. Y entonces conozco un poco de todo, un poco de muchos diferentes programas. Les voy a dar un panorama y la información, cómo buscar la información más exacta. Y les doy mi contacto por si quieren tener una consulta individual sobre las opciones, mejores opciones, dependiendo sus intereses y las oportunidades de becas que tenemos. Con mucho gusto les dejo mi calendario al final. Para quienes no conocen USC, es en Los Ángeles. No es parte de la Universidad de California, que es la UCLA, la Berkeley, la Universidad de California en San Diego. Hay 10 campus de la Universidad de California en todo el estado, y es el sistema de universidades públicas de investigación. USC es una universidad privada de investigación. Es un solo campus en Los Ángeles, cerca del centro. Les voy a estar mostrando fotos del campus y de los estudiantes para que tengan un poco de apoyo visual. Es la universidad más grande de California, un solo campus más grande de California. Tenemos como arriba de 40,000 estudiantes, más de la mitad son estudiantes de posgrado. Están en 450 programas de posgrado y dividido en 20 diferentes escuelas profesionales o como facultades y un colegio de letras, artes y ciencias. Y entonces, como es grande, hay muchos estudiantes, muchos programas y es privada, son programas pequeñas, pero mucha diversidad en los programas. Tenemos más o menos un profesor de tiempo completo por cada 10 estudiantes y un presupuesto arriba de $5 billones, casi $1 billón que va a investigación al año. Entonces, es muy grande, mucha inversión, mucho enfoque en la investigación. Todo eso, estando en Los Ángeles, teniendo un enfoque como de diversidad intelectual, también tenemos una diversidad cultural, diversidad global. Tenemos más estudiantes que cualquier universidad en California. Más estudiantes internacionales. Y pues esta variedad de estudios diversos. y las oficinas internacionales como la mía en la Ciudad de México, que apoyamos la misión en diversificarse, no solo reclutando de nuestras regiones para que haya más presencia en el campus, en mi caso de América Latina, pero también que haya presencia de la universidad en esta región con ponencias, actividades, publicaciones, entrevistas con los profesores, los expertos, que tenga más impacto la universidad en global, impacto global. Estando en Los Ángeles es muy, muy unida la universidad con la ciudad de Los Ángeles, se crecieron juntos. Tienes desde el mar hasta las montañas y es una ciudad urbana, pero con mucho acceso a la naturaleza, al resto de California. California siendo la sexta economía más grande del mundo y Los Ángeles un superpoder de California. Es muy importante en temas de pues, artes y entretenimiento, sin duda, pero también biotecnología, aeroespacial y negocios internacionales. Son las industrias muy grandes y desarrollo inmobiliario y arquitectura. Muchos conocen USC primeramente por el deporte. Esta es una foto de un partido de fútbol americano en el estadio de USC. Todo se ve de rojo y amarillo, o como llamamos cardenal y oro. Son los colores de USC, de los troyanos. Y estos son estudiantes y exalumnos que regresan los fines de semana para los partidos, para apoyar al equipo. USC tiene más ¿cómo se llaman? Medallas olímpicas que cualquier otra universidad. Un montón de... Entonces, no solo en el fútbol americano, pero en muchos deportes compiten, pero también el recreo, el deporte también es importante para los estudiantes, aunque no sean semiprofesionales o amateurs. Hay mucho deporte, hay muchos clubes acerca de los intereses de los estudiantes, por ejemplo, el de emprendimiento o el de emprendimiento social o los grupos de desarrollo inmobiliario como profesionales, también como los intereses, actividades sociales, grupos de diferentes regiones, todo tipo. Y todos ellos se organizan, tienen como un fondo general que pueden acceder y usar para sus actividades y promover sus actividades, traer ponentes, tener eventos para los demás estudiantes. Entonces hay actividad continua en el campus, normalmente. Ahorita está virtual. Seguridad es muy importante. Tenemos, por ejemplo, un servicio como Cabify o Uber, pero se llama Lyft en California, que es gratuito para el transporte en la zona de la universidad, entre los departamentos y la universidad. Y tenemos un sistema de camiones en la ciudad universitaria que lleva las personas, cuestión de seguridad, también de conveniencia. El área alrededor de la universidad es como usos mixtos. Hay dormitorios y abajo supermercado, manicure y pedicure, peluquería, todo tipo de servicios. Estoy pensando en los servicios que no puedo usar ahorita. Pero entonces, y eso es alrededor del campus, de los edificios, de las clases. Entonces, como una ciudad universitaria cerca del centro de Los Ángeles. Hay un centro médico grande, importante en el centro del campus, que es muy bueno. Entonces, puedes llegar caminando entre las clases sin cita, es muy útil. Y yo creo que USC, pues todas las escuelas que mencioné van a tener un área específica para mentoría. ¿Por qué estoy haciendo la presentación en inglés? Perdón, digo en español. Mentoría y como desarrollo profesional, tienen ferias de trabajo, etcétera. Y, um, y eso con las actividades estudiantiles, las actividades de clases y el apoyo profesional, se crea una red muy fuerte de contactos. Nos llamamos los troyanos. Es la familia troyana, globalmente son casi 400,000 egresados. Entonces se apoyan mucho entre ellos. Es de las redes de egresados más fuertes de una universidad estadounidense. Entonces, perdón, voy a cambiar a inglés porque mi presentación está en inglés. So a couple more photos, the football game. This is the mixed use area with the dormitories and the shops and restaurants downstairs. This is the main campus. We have some parks and recreation mixed in with the campus so that you can do sports and a gym. And then what we really came for, the academic programs. I'm just going to highlight, since we have 450 graduate programs, I'm just going to highlight some of them and show you where to get more information. I'm highlighting the ones that have an agreement with Col Futuro, so they have scholarship money dedicated for Colombians through this partnership, and some that are especially of interest to Colombians, where we have more Colombians coming. So the first is architecture. Our most famous alum is Frank Gehry. He constructed this building, the Walt Disney Hall in downtown Los Angeles, as well as the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, very famous. We have many distinguished architectural alums. The School of Architecture is particularly very social-minded and very global-minded. So even as master's students going to Los Angeles will be a global experience for you, but you will also have other opportunities to incorporate global studies into your degree. And you can do advanced architectural studies, landscape, heritage, preservation, or building science. And one of the benefits of being in the USC School of Architecture is being in this large university, you'll have access. You can focus more on the design and art side, or more on the building science and engineering side. And you have the full resources of the university, where we have all of the art schools, we have the engineering school. So it's a very rich place to be. And about half of the architecture firms in Los Angeles are graduates of USC. It's a very big and important school there. And they have an agreement with Col Futuro. Our communications and journalism school, the Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, is ranked number 1 or 2 over the last 5 or 10 years in the United States for communication. It is an excellent communication school. One of our more famous communication scholars, Manuel Castells, if you've heard of him. Another is Henry Jenkins. Those are professors. You will learn, I'm going to show you a photo of their new building. They have 2 buildings. This one is like a real life newsroom. You will learn very much applied skills for communication or journalism, whichever path you choose. Being in Los Angeles, you will have access to unparalleled opportunities for learning and for practicing your craft. They also have a very unique program called public diplomacy, which is communication on behalf of governments to the public. So it's one of the very few in the world that focuses on government communication to the world. And they have a center for research. It's also a top center for research. The School of Business is the Marshall School of Business, USC Marshall School of Business. And we have several Colombians every year. And they're particularly drawn to our Master of Science in Social Entrepreneurship, which is the only social entrepreneurship program at a business school. And it can be for people who are just starting their career right out of their licenciatura, who want to make an impact and want to learn the business part of making a social impact to have sustainable businesses. We have the finance degree that is also for people who don't have any background and want to start to launch a finance degree. You finish in 1 year, and it's very, very focused on getting you your first job in finance. Business analytics, which is STEM degree. Actually, all of these, except for marketing and social entrepreneurship, have a STEM track. The STEM track will allow you to apply for 36 months of a work visa when you graduate, which is something that a lot of international students are looking for. The business analytics and the supply chain management and the MBA in particular have tracks helping, actually the finance degree as well. I think all of these actually will have a track for you if you don't have a business background to learn the business part. So if you're a scientist or an engineer, to learn the business basics and either start your career in business or transition into a new industry. The MBA is the classic business degree. That's for people with 3 years or more of experience in business. If we're looking to move up into more of a leadership position. And we have a 1-year MBA that's for people with 6 or more years of experience. And that's for people with more experience who want to take on more leadership and need to finish in 1 year. And then we have the supply chain management, is global supply chain management actually, and that can also be for seasoned executives who need to get the degree. I don't have a great photo of the business school. Let me wait for my connection to restart. Okay, I think it's good. I want to highlight in the engineering school is a top 10 engineering school in the US. It's one of the largest. So we have over 60 engineering graduate programs. I do not have them all memorized, but I want to show you we have these 8 departments, 8 areas of engineering. Each one has a PhD program and several master's programs. The 2 biggest are electrical engineering and computer science. But again, because of the diversity of studies at USC, things like biomedical engineering are very popular because you have a medical school, there's people working on medical devices and medical advances. The computer science program has a top video game development program that they do together with our School of Cinema. Our law school, and engineering, all the ones that I've mentioned so far, except for business, they're part of the agreement with Colfuturo, and the business school has scholarships outside of the agreement. The law school is also part of the agreement with Colfuturo, and it also offers a Master of Laws. It's perfect for international lawyers who either want to work internationally or want to return to Colombia and work for firms that have international clients. And then our School of Public Affairs is a top 3 in the United States for public affairs schools. It's called the Price School of Public Policy. It's also part of the agreement. And they have public policy, public administration, urban planning. These are excellent, excellent programs. And what really makes this school unique is that it combines the policy makers that analyze and design policy, the policy administrators, the public administration, the people who manage policy, the planners, urban planners, And they also have, it's not listed here, but real estate development and nonprofit leadership. So the whole sort of all of the counterparts that work toward building and running, planning, building, and managing a community, they're in the same school together. So you learn how to work with your counterparts while you're in school, and you do applied projects, international projects. And then when you go out into the world, you already have that experience and the contacts of your counterparts. So now I'm going to show you where to find out if I did not mention your program. This, if you can read at the top of my screen, is the address to go, gradadm.usc.edu. This is the best page to see all the programs. So this has a page. This has each of these white dots is a different one of the schools that I mentioned. So a few that I didn't mention that you might want to look at are in art schools. I mentioned architecture, but we also have the, let me see if I can mark this up. I don't think I can. We have a School of Art and Design. We have a School of Cinematic Arts, a School of Dramatic Arts, and where is it? The Thornton School of Music. And these, oh, and there's a dance school here as well. I don't see where it is. These schools have an International Artist Fellowship. And I love to mention it here because one session with Cole Futuro, I mentioned it, and she found out and she applied and she won this scholarship. It is a full scholarship. All tuition and living expenses are paid. But in addition, it's a very prestigious scholarship. So you join this small group of international artists. They give you special seminars, special support in order to launch a global arts leadership career. They are all in all of these different arts, but they all of the fellows have been selected because they are particularly global in their vision for their art, even though they're very diverse. And so they even get a fund for launching their career once they're finishing up with their master's or their doctoral degree. And then we have, I want to mention the medical sciences. You know, in the United States, our medical schools are over capacity. So we don't really recruit students to come to medical school in the United States. But we have many, and the health industry is just tremendous and growing. And we have many options for doctors or people with a science background, a biology background, just chemistry background, that want to get into the health industries. So, for example, we have, let me connect my earphones so you can hear me.
The independent health professions. We have occupational therapy and biokinesiology. They're both ranked #1 in their fields. Occupational therapy is working with people with disabilities. Occupational therapy is like work-based therapy, integrating into life skills as a therapy. Biokinesiology, the physics of movement. We have a school of gerontology that's just focused on aging populations, the medical, the business, the social, every aspect of aging populations. We have the medical school, which has several degrees that are very interesting for international students, like translational biotechnology, neuroscience, imaging, no, it's not called neuroscience, it's called neuroinformatics and imaging, brain scanning, several more for people in different medical fields. And we have the School of Pharmacy, which is the #1 private school of pharmacy for research that has every aspect of pharmaceutical development. And several more schools. There's a lot, because we run 4 hospitals and over 30 clinics in LA. So there's a lot of opportunities for research and working in the health field. So we have a lot of medical sciences-based degrees. So I encourage you to come to this page, and when you click on one of them, and I encourage you to speak with me as well if you're looking for something. There might be several options in different schools, or one in particular that fits what you want to do. But you click on one of these buttons and it will take you to that school's programs, and there'll be a list with a URL, a contact, and how to apply. So you can visit from here, you can visit the individual program's website and really see more about it. So I'm getting close to wrapping up here. I just want to touch on one of the important topics, which is funding. The University of Southern California has merit-based scholarships. That is, we do not evaluate applicants for their need for scholarship, but for their merit, because we're trying to recruit the most talented students worldwide. So independent of whether you need it or not, you will be considered automatically when you apply. For all the PhD programs, we have full scholarships, which is we pay full tuition and living expenses through a combination of teaching assistantship, graduate research assistantship, and fellowship, depending on the package that you're offered, which depends basically on your ranking when you're applying. So we take the best applicants every year and then we rank them and we give them their packages. But all students have full support, which is very helpful so that students are collaborative. They're not competing with each other as much. That's why I chose to do my PhD at USC, because it's a very supportive environment. And there's work on campus options for master students. Because merit-based scholarships for master students usually are smaller. They don't cover full tuition. They rarely cover living expenses, except for in the artist fellowship. So most master students will either have private funds, they'll have Col Futuro, and many of them will choose to work on campus after 6 months or a year on campus. And then we have our agreement with Col Futuro. And for communication and journalism, we offer 50% tuition scholarship. For architecture, we offer 35% tuition scholarship, but we have higher amounts. We go up to 60% scholarship with architecture, or the full, if you get the global fellowship, we have full. Public policy and public administration, I forget, I'm sorry, I think it's $20,000. But they have higher scholarships as well. Engineering offers a 50% tuition scholarship. We have somebody there right now with the Col Futuro. And law offers $10,000 or $15,000. And then we have English as well. If you want to perfect your English, we have 7-week courses or 14 or 21 courses. So the way to be considered for the USC Col Futuro or for any of USC's merit-based scholarships is to apply. So basically, that's why I gave you this information about researching how to find out more about the program. Each program is going to have slightly different requirements, but also because the most convincing thing that you can do is apply to a program that's a really good fit for you. It has professors that you want to take classes with. It has activities. It has a global study program or an internship program that you're interested in. So when you get to know that program by reading about it, everything's updated on our website about it. And you can mention that when you write your application and say, this is why it's a good fit for me. That really, really helps us select the best students, because our job is to select students who will be successful in that program. So looking for in your application, whether you understand what you're applying for and you really you can really get something out of it, that would be an important factor, especially this year, since most programs are not requiring the GRE or the GMAT. So they're going to be looking more carefully at your statement of purpose, that you're clear about what you want to do, at your letters of reference, that they really understand you and support you, and any other supplemental materials. So here's the information that I promised, and I will send some links as well. This is my email, and this calendly.com is my page. It has my calendar on it. It's always updated. So if you go on there, if you want to take a picture of the screen, you can save it. You can choose a time and select that time for yourself, put your email in, and it will send me and you a calendar invitation. And it will reserve that spot on my calendar for you. I will send you a Zoom link, and we can have a conversation. If you want to do health, for example, there's so many options. We need to talk about what area you're really interested in. It could be the same for the arts, for engineering, and I can put you in contact with whoever can help you next. And then I also I don't have a link to this. I'm going to put it in the chat. December 10th, next week at 5 p.m., we're having a masterclass, a sample class from our School of Business. It's called Pivoting Your Business to Stay Relevant. It's one of USC Marshall School of Business' favorite professors. He's a professor of entrepreneurship. It's one of the best centers for entrepreneurship in the country. And he's going to talk about pivoting your business to stay relevant. So the examples he gave us, like Kodak and BlackBerry, are companies that did not pivot with big technological changes, and they failed. So he's going to talk about how, with a focus on small to medium-sized companies, how to pivot when realities change, like this year, and take advantage of the opportunities. So it will be a sample class, and then we'll talk more about our one-year MBA for international executives. So I'm going to leave the link to that in the chat, and now I'm going to take your questions. I'm sorry I went a little bit long, but thank you so much for listening.
Angela, thank you so much for doing the presentation. We have quite a few questions, so I'll start now. The first one is from Wilmer, and he says, what is the English level we should have for the different scholarships?
It depends. That's a great question. So each program has a slightly different level of English. It's not for the scholarship consideration, it's just for admission. All programs would have a minimum of 90, but some programs will have a minimum of 100 or 110. So if it's communications PhD, it's very writing based, it's very communications based, they're going to expect 110 or higher. If it's engineering, they expect a 90 or higher. They're not really focused on English or verbal communication. They're much more focused on the quantitative part. The arts are also much more flexible around English. So please look at the specific program, but shoot for a 90 minimum. And also focus more on the other parts of your application, because English is just a tool to help you learn. It's not something that we're going to use to evaluate you. It's just sort of a minimum you need to reach. It's not a demonstration of how smart you are.
Great, thank you. The next one is from Leslie, and she wants to know, do masters in engineering normally last 1 or 2 years?
That's a great question. They are built for 2 years, unless it's a double master's. There are a couple of double masters, and that could go longer. Most students do it in 2 years because it's a light load. In your last year or your last semester, you can do an internship. And that really helps, like, with your professional development. But they can be done in 1 year, if that's your goal. And you would work through the summer and you would take 12 months and take a lot of courses. But then you would miss out on doing the summer internship and the last semester internship, which can be really helpful. I have seen students do both. Some students, they already have a job, they need the degree to keep working. Some students really want those experiences of the internships so that they can learn and find their job.
Great, thank you. The next one is from Freddy, and he says, I have previously reviewed the architecture master programs and have noticed that USC has a dual degree master program, Advanced Architectural Studies plus Master in Planning. Is it possible that Colfuturo covers this program, or does the Colfuturo agreement only cover the Advanced Architectural Studies program?
That's a really good question. So both of those master's degree, Advanced Architecture and the Master in Urban Planning, are part of the degree, but we have never had this question or even considered how it would apply. So I honestly can't tell you. If you wrote me an email, I could research it with the two different schools and see how they apply scholarship money. It could be different because they might apply scholarship funds differently when it's a joint program on our part. They're both like urban planning, that's a top 3 program. They're both going to be really excellent programs. Like they'll help you on your ranking with Colfuturo. I just don't know our part, what we would be able to offer.
Great. This is a question they have asked quite a few times, so I'll be doing that. Daniel says, thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to ask, is the International Artist Fellowship applicable for studies programs within art schools? They're wondering if art also applies for the scholarship.
Thank you. Yes, I just dropped the link in the chat for this program. And yes, all of the art schools participate. And yes, the arts masters do participate. Yes.
Awesome.
I think maybe there's one arts master's like in curatorial practices, for example. And I think that would not apply since that is for curators, not for artists. So look at this webpage and the programs and see if it's a good fit.
Thank you. The next one is from Adriana, and she wants to know more about the 100% scholarship. Maybe if you could tell us about the requirements you take into account to pick out the students.
Okay, so there are since they're all merit-based, this applies for whether it's a 20% or 100% or 100% plus living expenses scholarship. They are going to evaluate your application. So it's going to look at your statement of purpose, whether you understand the program and that it's a good fit for you, and whether you understand yourself and what you're going to do next. The statement of purpose is a very important letter that really, it's hard to define because they're all going to be unique. It's going to be as unique as you are as a person, but it's going to show that you understand what you want to do in a master's or PhD program, and you have the capacity to do it. It's like a persuasive argument. This is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'd love to do it at your university. It should definitely show that you really understand what that program offers you in terms of the faculty, the classes, the curriculum. Look at it in particular, what about that program attracts you? Your letters of recommendation need to be really strong. So they need to be from people that know you, know your work well, and will give you a very high recommendation. They will say, Joanna is the best student I had this year, or she's the best student I've had in 5 years, or she is so creative, she created her own business or her own arts fellowship program for children, or whatever it is in your area, something that really makes you stand out. your recommender can recommend you for that. And I'll tell you the way I did it. I knew I needed good recommendations, so I took classes with the same person over and over. I knew I was good. I knew he saw I was good, so I took another class from him, and I took another class from him, and then I volunteered to work in his lab, and then I worked for him after I graduated. And so by the time I asked him for a letter, he knew me for 2 years, and he had to say I was fantastic. So if you don't have that now, you can start building on that. Because you're young, this is the time to start building those relationships, do outstanding work so that people can say, she is fantastic. We normally, in other years, we have the exams, the GRE or the GMAT. They are almost entirely eliminated this year, and many programs may not bring them back. So they will make it more important for you to demonstrate through the letters of recommendation and your statement of purpose, who you are, what you've done, and how this program will take you to the next level. Because think about the university, we live on research and the success of our students, because the university is ranked against other universities. You heard me say, this number is program 3, this program's number 3, this program's number 1, this program's number 10. It's very important to the university. We get ranked on how much money our students make when they graduate, how much publications they make, how fast they get a job, how much money they donate to the university later on. For those things to happen successfully, we have to choose students that we know are going to be successful in our programs and afterwards. We, of course, also have to make a commitment to make sure that that happens for you. So we're going to choose students that are good fit and who know what they're going to do. I hope that's helpful.
Great, Angela. The next question is from Oscar, and he wants to know if there is any restriction for dormitories at the USC due to the pandemic.
That's a great question. Yes, we are not using the dormitories right now. And there are very few, I think some international students, there may be some Columbia students who stayed in the United States. And so they can stay in the dorms because that's where they live. But everybody who could was asked to go home. So they have a very, very low occupancy just for very minimal contact. Los Angeles right now has a curfew where it's like the bars and restaurants are closed. It's like they're getting ready for winter. It's not a good public health situation right now. So the university is working very closely with the public health experts to make sure the students and the faculty are safe.
Thank you, Angela. And for the last question, since we have quite a few, maybe you can share again your slide where they can find your email address so they can contact you later on. And the last question is from Herman, and he says, are there any scholarships for PhD programs?
Oh, yes. All PhD programs have 100% scholarship plus living expenses. So all tuition plus living expenses, 4 or 5 years that it requires to take a PhD program. And they will evaluate your application. You'll be automatically considered for the scholarship.
Thank you. I don't know if you want to add something else before finishing the webinar.
I think I just saw one last question that said, just only need a good statement of purpose. I mean, what you really need is your whole application needs to be good. So you're going to do your transcripts as well, your historial académico, your letters of recommendation. Every element is going to be right, and it needs to be a good fit for you. So unfortunately, I can't really tell you now whether you can get it, but we do what's like a holistic evaluation of your application. So we'll look at the whole application and you as a person. Some of the schools have supplemental materials now, so they might ask for a portfolio, some of your artwork. Some schools, if they're more focused on business, they're going to look at your work experience. So some of them offer you a chance to send in a video explaining who you are, showing if you're going to be a good therapist. So it really depends on the area of study, how you show who you are and whether you'll be a good fit for the program. So please look at the program requirements, see if it's a good fit for you, and then look at the application requirements, and one thing will just follow. It just follows like dominoes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you so much for being here and for doing the presentation. And everyone have a very nice day. Que tengan un buen día.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.